Sigma. Males have certain habits that no one else understands. They may seem weird or strange to others, but they are just a normal part of this personality type. If you are a Sigma, you may have noticed some of these habits in yourself. That's why you're often misunderstood by others who may not understand why you do the things you do. While some things may seem uncommon, they make perfect sense to you. Here are 8 weird habits all Sigma males have that normal people don't understand. Number 1. They overthink a text message before hitting send. Have you ever noticed how sometimes you write a text and then delete it, write it again, and still don't send it? That's probably because you're a Sigma. These men are notorious overthinkers, especially when communicating through technology. They'll carefully craft each message and analyze every word before sending it out. They don't want to come across as too eager or say something that might be misinterpreted. Sometimes they may even refrain from sending a message altogether because they're afraid of how it will be received. They just put their phone away and think, maybe I'll just call them instead. It's a strange habit, but it's part of their cautious and meticulous nature. They want to make sure everything is just right before they hit send. Number 2, they choose seats in the back to go unnoticed. Have you ever noticed how some people always seem to pick the back seats at meetings or in class? This is a common habit among Sigma males. They prefer to observe rather than be at the center of attention, so they tend to choose seats or places where they can have an overview of their surroundings without being in the spotlight like alpha males. This may seem strange to others, but it's their way to feel comfortable and in control. Sitting in the back also lets them leave quickly if they need to. If a meeting is boring, they can slip away without anyone noticing. Number 3, they disappear without explanation. Sigma males are like ninjas in social situations. They can vanish without anyone noticing. They're not the type to always say goodbye or explain why they're leaving. This can seem rude or weird to others, but it's just their way of avoiding unnecessary small talk or goodbyes that may drag on. They prefer to leave when it suits them and not feel obligated to stay just because everyone else is. If they feel like they've had enough or the subject of conversation is not interesting, they'll quietly disappear. This also applies to social media. They might suddenly delete all their accounts without any explanation, leaving people confused and wondering what happened. For Sigma men, it's just a way of simplifying their life and not being tied down to something that doesn't bring them joy or fulfillment. Number 4, they give one-word answers to end boring conversations faster. Have you ever been stuck talking to someone who just goes on and on about something super boring? It feels like time just slows down and you can't wait to get away. You might start looking around hoping for an escape. It gets really frustrating, doesn't it? That's how Sigma men feel when they're forced into a boring conversation. They may not be the most talkative individuals, but they can certainly hold an engaging conversation when it's about something meaningful to them. But if the topic is uninteresting or irrelevant, they'll try to end it as quickly as possible. And one-word answers are their go-to move in these situations. Imagine someone keeps talking about paint drying. That's how boring it is, instead of nodding along. A Sigma might simply say cool or interesting. Number 5, they don't like it when you praise them too much. Most people love getting compliments. It makes them feel good, like they did something really great. But Sigma men are a bit different. They don't always enjoy being praised or getting too much attention. While it's nice to hear when you've done something well, sometimes getting too many compliments can feel a bit strange or insincere. Sigma males are pretty modest. They don't need people to tell them how great they are all the time to feel good about themselves. They already know their own value and don't rely on others to boost their confidence. They can immediately tell when someone is just trying to get something out of them by showering them with flattery. This can make them feel uncomfortable, and they'll often try to deflect or downplay any praise. They may even start to question the person's intentions or wonder if their words are real. Too much attention can make them feel suspicious, especially if that person doesn't usually go out of their way to compliment them. They also don't want to be put on a pedestal or treated differently because of a few compliments. Number 6, they never reveal too much about themselves when it comes to sharing personal information or opening up about their feelings. Sigma men can be quite closed off. They're naturally private and don't like talking about personal matters unless they feel it's necessary. They'll often deflect or change the subject if they feel too much attention is on them. This can be confusing for others who may feel like these men must be hiding something, but in reality, Sigma males just value their privacy and see no reason to share personal details with others. They choose not to tell people more than what's necessary. They're also highly self-sufficient and don't want to rely on anyone else for support. They are capable of handling their own issues and don't want to burden others with their problems. They may seem mysterious or elusive because they're not open books like others, but they're comfortable with themselves and not trying to impress anyone. Number 7, they silently judge people's word choices. Believe it or not, Sigma men listen closely. When people talk, not just to hear the words, but to notice how they're put together. They listen and read very carefully, noticing what words people choose and how they use them. They can tell a lot about someone's intelligence, intentions, and personality just by the words they use. This isn't to say that they're judgmental, but it's just a natural observation for them. They pay attention to details, and language is one of them, but they don't say anything about it. They just keep it to themselves. It might sound weird, but that just shows how much attention they pay to details. They're not trying to be pretentious or show off their vocabulary. They just have a keen eye for how people express themselves. They also pay attention to the meaning behind what people say, trying to understand their true intentions and motivations. That's why they can't be easily fooled by someone's smooth talk or flattery. Controlling them with words is almost impossible. They can see through the facade and will either call it out or just mentally make a note of it. Number 8, they hide from acquaintances to avoid small talk. Everyone knows that moment when you spot someone you kind of know, like a talkative person from work or a neighbor who always asks too many questions for Sigma males. This is the moment they become invisible. They hate small talk and unnecessary conversations, especially with those boring people who don't really have anything interesting to say. They'll go out of their way to avoid any interaction, like taking a different route or suddenly becoming super interested in reading the back of a cereal box in the grocery store. While this may seem extreme, it's just their way of avoiding something that drains them. They hate those kinds of interactions because they feel forced and unnatural. They don't like pretending to be interested and would rather avoid it altogether. Talking about mundane things just for the sake of being polite or keeping up appearances is not something they enjoy.